So what happens when a perfectly flawless digital system just completely collides with a perfectly normal human?
Oh, well, usually it's a total mess.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, it results in 5 minutes of absolute bureaucratic chaos
Yeah.
over just 30 RMB.
Right, the parking lot story from today's notes.
Yeah, that story from one of the editors in our sources today, it just completely captures this modern friction we all deal with. So for years, they had this unspoken, very human arrangement with the security guards at their compound, right?
A tiny social contract, basically.
Exactly. They'd pull up to the parking lot, the guard would recognize them, manually buzz the gate open, and just waive the daily fee. Easy. But then, a new smart parking system gets installed.
And those systems, they demand absolute sequence, no exceptions.
None. So the car rolls up, the monitor demands the fee, and the guard hands over a printed QR code. The editor scans it, but their cell phone connection just drops.
Oh, worst timing.
Right, so the payment hangs in this weird digital limbo,
Yeah.
but the gate somehow lifts anyway.
Because the human guard assumed the payment went through and just manually triggered the barrier.
Yeah, but now they are both trapped in a total nightmare. The system registers no car, but the guard's shift ledger is going to be short 30 RMB at the end of the day.
And they can't just rescan the code, right?
No, because the software stubbornly insists there is no pending transaction. It's totally locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So to solve it, the driver literally has to throw the car in reverse, back all the way out of the compound, and approach the gate a second time just to trigger the optical sensor again so they can pay.
That is amazing. It really reminds me of that vintage pet shop comic strip included in the stack today.
Oh, the one with the dogs.
Yeah. So a guy is being kept awake by a howling puppy. He goes to the pet shop, buys a full-grown dog to keep the puppy in line, and that night, every single dog in the room is just howling at the moon.
It's the perfect analogy. We introduce these supposedly elegant technological solutions, and they just multiply the chaos.
Right, because they assume a frictionless reality. I mean, look at the math section of our sources. You see these wonderfully simple, rigid equations.
Like the algebra ones.
Exactly. 9a plus 5b equals 82. Or y times y plus y equals 210, which dictates that y absolutely must be 14.
Right. Mathematical certainty is absolute.
Mhm.
It does not care if you have bad cell reception.
Exactly. A machine looks at a parking lot and sees that exact type of equation. It anticipates inputs and outputs. But human life, I mean, it operates on favors, judgment calls, and drops signals.
Variables that just completely destroy the formula.
Precisely.
And that tension is exactly what we are exploring in this deep dive. Today, we're taking you through a really fascinating stack of newsletter clippings covering everything from artificial intelligence startups to an escaped wolf and the Champions League.
A very wide range today.
Very wide. But our mission today, the thing we really want you to think about, is the massive theme hiding in all these pages. It's the tension between cold, flawless systems and messy, beautiful human unpredictability.
And honestly, nowhere is that collision producing more heat right now than in the global AI arms race.
Okay, let's unpack this because the NVIDIA and DeepSeek news is everywhere.
Right. Take DeepSeek, the Chinese AI startup. They completely shocked the tech world last year with their R1 model. It was highly capable, incredibly low cost.
Yeah, you've probably seen their little whale logo popping up on phones everywhere lately.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, they built that model internally, bankrolled entirely by their parent hedge fund, Highflyer. They actually turned down outside investors.
Which is unheard of in AI right now.
Totally unheard of. But now, suddenly, they are outraising money targeting $300 million at a $10 billion valuation.
Well, perfection turns out to be incredibly expensive to maintain. I mean, they suffered a massive 7-hour crash last month.
A lifetime in the tech world.
Yeah. And to fix the bottlenecks, they need colossal amounts of cash for bigger data centers and more chips.
Yeah.
But most importantly, they need to pay their engineers enough to stop them from jumping ship to competitors.
Right, the human talent required to build the unfeeling machine commands an absolute premium.
Exactly.
And acquiring the hardware for those machines, well, that's currently bound up in some very complex geopolitical dynamic.
Yeah, the U.S.-China chip situation.
Right. And strictly looking at the context provided in our sources, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang recently did a podcast interview where he argued, and this is strictly from a business perspective, that the U.S. should allow his company to sell AI chips to China.
Which obviously sparked a massive online firestorm.
It did. But his technical rationale was simply that export restrictions don't actually halt AI development. They just divert companies like DeepSeek to domestic alternatives like Huawei's Ascend 950 PR chip.
Right. It's like telling someone they can't buy your sports car, so they just figure out how to build their own engine instead.
That's a great way to put it. And neutrally reporting the facts here, Huang called it a horrible outcome for NVIDIA, which makes sense when you look at their balance sheet. They took a $4.5 billion hit this year from those U.S. export restrictions.
4.5 billion. Wow, the innovation just roots around the roadblock.
Exactly. And this massive global desperation for computing power has triggered a financial hysteria that is honestly so bizarre.
Oh, you mean companies with absolutely nothing to do with technology trying to cash in on the GPU gold rush?
Yes, look at Allbirds.
Okay, this blew my mind.
Ah,
The eco-friendly shoe brand, right? The ones famous for the white knit sneakers with the red laces.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Valued at $4 billion just a few years ago. Now, they are officially quitting the footwear business entirely.
Wait, entirely.
Entirely. They are selling off their sneaker brand for a mere $39 million, and they're rebranding as Newbird AI.
You cannot make this up.
You really can't. They're raising $50 million to buy data center GPUs.
And the absurdity of the current tech market is that Wall Street loved it. The stock jumped to over 500% in a single day.
Over 500%. We place so much blind faith in the concept of digital perfection that just slapping the letters A and I onto a failing shoe company generates $500 million in perceived value.
Just out of thin air. But the thing is, those perfect digital systems are actually incredibly vulnerable, specifically because they lack human intuition.
Right. Which brings us to the DeFi crypto heist.
Yeah, the Kelp DAO situation. So a hacker manipulated the protocol into handing over $292 million worth of a token called Jersey.
A staggering amount of money.
Right. And then they took those stolen tokens over to Aave, which is the largest lending protocol in crypto, and just used them as collateral to borrow $236 million in real Ethereum.
It's wild. And to understand how this works, you have to look at the mechanism of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. It is essentially a bank run entirely by smart contracts.
So no human executives at all.
None. The smart contract on Aave checked the price feed for Arzeth, saw it was valuable, and verified the token standard. What it did not and could not do was verify the intrinsic market reality of how those tokens were actually acquired.
As the source put it, it's like forging a fake gold bar, walking into a pawn shop, slamming it on the counter, and walking out with real cash.
Exactly. And the terrifying part is the pawn shop doesn't even blink because its digital scale confirms the weight is correct. It completely ignores what the metal actually is.
Because there's no human pawnbroker there.
Right.
No one to look at the customer's nervous sweating or feel the strange texture of the bar and rely on 20 years of street smarts to say, something's off here.
Exactly. The code trusted the input flawlessly. And that flawless execution triggered a massive panic where users yanked $5.4 billion out of Aave in a matter of hours.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because it's one thing when code messes up in the digital realm, but when machines get physical, it gets unnerving.
Oh, the Beijing humanoid robot half marathon.
Yes. Over 100 robots lined up for a 21-kilometer race. And the winner was this bright red robot named Lightning, built by the smartphone maker Honor.
And it crossed the finish line in 50 minutes and 26 seconds.
Which beats the current human world record of 57 minutes and 20 seconds.
By a lot. And just last year, the winning robot took over 2 hours and 40 minutes and spent half the race just falling over.
So what changed?
Well, the leap in capability is entirely down to overcoming mechanical bottlenecks. Biological muscles, they break down glycogen and create lactic acid when pushed. That fundamentally forces a human body to fatigue and slow down.
But a robot doesn't have lactic acid.
Right. A robot's only enemy is thermal overload.
So Honor just bypassed that limitation? They integrated smartphone liquid cooling like a vapor chamber directly into the robot's joints.
They removed the biological constraint. They replaced lactic acid with a cooling loop. So the machine gets infinite stamina as long as the battery holds.
What's fascinating here is the brutal contrast with the limits of the human body that we see in the sports section of our sources. The human machine inevitably breaks.
It does. Look at Steph Curry.
Yeah, 38 years old, shooting 4 of 16 for a mere 17 points in a play-in game. missing the playoffs entirely.
It really signaled the end of the Golden State Warriors dynasty.
A dynasty he built by fundamentally changing the geometry of basketball with the three-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
But biological aging cannot be liquid-cooled.
No, it can't. Victor Axelsen is dealing with the exact same reality in badminton.
Right, he's retiring at just 32 due to chronic back injuries. And this is a guy who dominated the sport. A 6'4" wingspan, spent 183 weeks at world #1.
He even learned fluent Mandarin just to bridge the cultural gap with his fans and rivals in China. But eventually, the human body fails.
But humans also have grit, a variable that no vapor chamber can replicate.
Pure desperation.
Yeah. Look at Shiyuki. He's currently China's world #2 in badminton. There is this photo of him, and the source is he's midair, eyes completely locked on the shuttlecock. It is intense.
He just crushed his opponent in 41 minutes to win the Asian Championship.
Right, he's chasing that super grand slam of all 9 major titles, pushing his physical frame to the absolute limit for the abstract concept of legacy.
You see that same exact friction-seeking behavior in the Paris-Roubaix cycling race, too.
Oh, they call that one the Hell of the North.
Wait, do?
Yeah.
Cyclists rattle over 55 kilometers of jagged cobblestones at an average speed of almost 49 kilometers an hour. It's brutal.
And the equipment fails constantly. The sources mentioned both the winner, Wout van Aert, and the runner-up, Tadej Pogacar, suffered tire punctures.
The mechanics break down, but the humans just keep pedaling. Van Aert actually chased this victory for 8 years, and his immediate reaction upon winning was to dedicate it to a teammate who died during the 2018 race.
It's all so emotional. Even in slower sports, the mental friction is immense. Look at Rory McIlroy.
Oh, the Masters. He blew a massive 6-shot lead.
Completely collapsed under his own psychology during the 3rd round. But then, somehow, he found the fortitude to come back on Sunday and win back-to-back Masters by a single stroke.
It's incredible. And the Masters, by the way, is a great example of this analog resistance. They stubbornly refuse to allow cell phones on the course, and they still sell egg salad sandwiches for $1.50.
They protect their traditions fiercely. It really forces you, as a listener, to consider your own career and life. Like, would you rather watch a robot flawlessly execute a task, or watch a human overcome immense physical and mental hurdles to achieve greatness?
Well, as the digital world becomes more automated, humans are clearly craving those raw physical experiences, even if they are dangerous or flawed.
Right, which brings us to the new Ultra Trail Mogan race. It's a 100-mile ultra trail race through the Bambi forests of the Mogan Shan Mountains.
It takes 32 hours to finish.
People are paying to endure profound physical suffering, but it's deeply tied to myth and culture. The course runs past the ancient sword-casting ponds of Ganjiang and Moye, the legendary couple who forged China's greatest swords 2,500 years ago.
We want tangibility. We want to bleed and sweat where the legends suffered.
Exactly. And that same craving for physicality drives Songkran, the Thai New Year festival.
The massive street water fight.
Yeah, it's essentially the world's largest, most chaotic water fight. But, as the expert notes in the sources, there's a dark side to this human desire for reckless fun.
There is. During the festival's 7 dangerous days, there were 242 deaths and over 1,200 road accidents.
Mostly due to speeding and drunk driving on motorcycles, right?
Right. It's the ultimate contrast to a safe, deterministic parking lot system. Human nature is just reckless.
But you see this cultural pushback against the digital everywhere right now. Like Christopher Nolan shooting his movie version of The Odyssey.
Entirely on massive, heavy IMAX film cameras.
Right. He's not using green screens.
Yeah.
There is this crazy image in the stack today of men physically dragging a giant wooden Trojan horse across a real beach. He is actively choosing the immense logistical nightmare of physical weight over effortless digital rendering.
Monocle Magazine is doing something similar in the publishing world.
Opening that physical pop-up shop.
Yeah, a shop and cafe in Shanghai. They champion thick, glossy print media. They filled the space with tactile USM and Stellarworks furniture, and they're hosting live gatherings like Entrepreneurs Live.
Proving that scrolling a screen just doesn't build community the way physical presence does.
Even modern pop music owes its emotional landscape to physical machinery. Look at Depeche Mode.
Right, formed in 1980. They shaped the sound of modern emotional pop from The Weeknd to Billie Eilish.
And they did it using massive early synthesizers where you had to physically patch cables to find a sound.
But, I mean, human behavior within culture can also be incredibly bizarre. We have to talk about Justin Bieber at Coachella.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Getting paid $10 million to walk out in front of 125,000 people, sit at a laptop, type baby into YouTube, and just watch his own 2010 music video on the giant screen.
It's hilarious. Katy Perry was in the crowd joking. She was thankful he had YouTube Premium so they didn't have to watch ads.
It's just wild.
I mean, to me, is this a clever statement on internet nostalgia or just sheer human laziness that an AI would never get away with? If an AI hallucinates that lazily, we unplug it.
That's true. But the sheer unpredictability of human virality is something cold math completely fails to capture. Take that track, No Batidão by ZXKI and Sluter.
The Brazilian funk and folk mashup, it's barely 90 seconds long.
Right. And a slowed down version of it exploded globally, racking up 84 million Spotify streams.
Purely because it became the soundtrack to a very specific TikTok dance challenge.
Exactly. It relies entirely on human empathy and shared emotional connection. And you really see the power of that empathy with the Hans Christian Andersen Award winners.
Oh, yes. Contrast the cold math from the beginning of the show with Kai Gao. She's a 79-year-old Chinese artist who won the illustration prize.
Her work for the story of the Peach Blossom Spring is just breathtaking. A blend of classical Chinese ink painting and impressionism.
And the writing award went to Michael Rosen, an 80-year-old British author. He wrote Michael Rosen's Sad Book, which is this profoundly vulnerable exploration of the crushing grief he experienced after the sudden death of his teenage son.
It's a masterclass in articulating pain to children. And yet, simultaneously, he's universally recognized by teenagers across the internet as the noise meme guy.
Right. Based on a totally unrelated poetry video from 2013 where he just smacks his lips and says nice.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, no AI could ever replicate that spectrum of human experience. You can't synthesize the soul-crushing grief of losing a child with the absurd virality of becoming a global internet meme.
So what does this all mean? How do we synthesize all of this? I think the final source perfectly captures it. April 19th, 1985. The recording of We Are the World.
The ultimate flawed beauty of collaboration.
Exactly. Paint the picture for us.
Well, you had 46 of the most massive, fragile egos in American music, all crammed into a single room in Los Angeles to raise $60 million for famine relief.
And it wasn't perfect at all. I mean, Prince completely refused to sing.
Right. He offered to play a guitar solo instead, leaving Huey Lewis to step in at the last minute to take his vocal part.
It was messy. It was a friction-filled human process with people arguing over phrasing and stepping on each other's toes. But it resulted in an absolute masterpiece.
It really did.
If you asked an advanced AI to write and record a charity single today, it would generate it in 5 seconds.
Right.
There would be zero arguments, but it wouldn't mean anything to anyone.
Just like that parking lot guard at the beginning, sometimes we need the friction.
We absolutely need the mistakes and the human judgment. We covered so much ground today, from DeepSeek's AI startups and the Kelp DAO crypto heist to liquid-cooled robot marathons.
And we didn't even fully get into the escaped wolf.
Oh, right. The 2-year-old wolf who burrowed out of a South Korean zoo. The human response was pure chaos.
300 police and soldiers playing recordings of wolf howls.
And they lost him on thermal cameras because they had to stop and swap a drone battery. The police even released a fake AI-generated photo of him, and someone launched a crypto meme coin before he was safely darted.
Pure, unscripted human absurdity.
Exactly. So, what's our final takeaway here?
Well, we are racing to build machines that run faster than us, solve math instantly, and perfectly police our parking lots. But as we engineer the friction out of our lives, are we also engineering out the very struggles that create our greatest art, our most thrilling sports, and our deepest connections? The next time you are stuck battling a broken automated system, ask yourself, is the chaos actually the point?
That is a brilliant thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the perfect system, stay curious, and embrace the messiness of the human experience. Catch you next time.